Alright, so today I peeked in the incubator and it looks like I have some new baby ball pythons coming out of the eggs, and this is a really interesting clutch. I actually paired my albino pied male with my clown female, and so all the babies, I'm thinking it'll probably look completely normal, but they'll all be triple hets: het pied, het albino, and het clown. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep most of those babies, breed them back together, and then it'll be like an Easter egg clutch every single time. I'll get albinos, pieds, clowns, I'll get albino pieds, clown pieds, I'll get a whole bunch of really awesome, sometimes maybe really high-end snakes coming out of that combination. So it'll probably take me, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years before these are actually ready to breed, before the females are big enough to where I can breed the males back and produce some visuals. But it's a pretty exciting project, and if I actually hit the triple visual a few years down the road, I'm going to take that, probably breed it back to an axanthic or some other recessive, maybe even like a sunset or something like that, and then produce the quadruple hets, which would be pretty awesome, especially if I bred it to something high-end like the sunset. It would be pretty incredible to work that in the albino pieds and clowns. And I did a quick search on Morph Market, and it looks like nobody has actually produced a triple het, the albino pied clown that they actually sold on Morph Market. So I'm thinking the whole clutch may be a whole clutch of world's firsts, which would be pretty interesting. And what I really want to see is I want to see if these are actually completely normal looking, or if you can see some het markers between the three hets, the albino pied and clowns. Sometimes with the het, if you have a het pied, is pretty much the only one where you can see markers, where it has tracks down the belly sometimes, a little bit of flaming up the sides. But I'm not sure about the triple hets. We may get some crazy looking normals. So let me pull those eggs out of the incubator and check them out. Alright, so here is the egg box. I was actually pretty lucky on this. The female clown was only 2 years old, and I wasn't sure she was actually going to go. She was really probably about 1,600 grams when I bred her, but she was still pretty young. So it'll be interesting to see what these eggs look like coming right out of the box here. And take a look at that. So these are pretty interesting. They look a little bit different than regular normals, I would say. Just a little bit of a mixed up pattern. And it looks like 4 of them are completely out of the eggshells. 2 of them are still peeking out just a little bit, and I'm probably not going to mess with these guys at all. I might cut them open just a little bit to see, make sure they can actually get out all the way. I don't really like them with the head stuck in there like that. I kind of like to cut them open just a little bit, so they are, so they definitely have access. So let's take a look at what we have over here. This is really interesting. So take a look at this snake. That has some really wild patterns to it. Take a look at that. That is a crazy looking normal. I would say it's quite interesting. I'd say it has some really strong het pied markers right down the belly here. And it has kind of a jumbled up pattern a little bit. Not quite 100% normal looking, I would say. That is pretty crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen triple het albino pied clown, but there it is right there. And the interesting thing about that one is it looks different than maybe this one here. So this one looks like it also has a little bit of tracks right down the belly. That's from the het pied influence. And it looks like the patterns are definitely jumbled up a little bit on this one. Looks like it has almost kind of an inchy pattern reduction, more in the back over here where inchy kind of brings it down. I don't think there's any inchy in either one of these. It definitely doesn't look like it by the snakes. It almost kind of looks like almost a leopard pattern kind of on those snakes, which is pretty cool. So that is pretty exciting. Let's take a look at these other 2 over here. And this one is also jumbled up quite a bit in the patterns. I'd say the colors are pretty much normal looking colors. This one's kind of interesting. It has a stripe down the front part of the snake. This one, of course, has the het pied markers down the belly. And the sides are most normal looking, I'd say. Pretty much a little bit jumbled up pattern, but the color looks pretty normal. But let me tell you, when you start breeding these together, we are going to get some really exciting clutches coming out of these boys and girls here. So what I want to do is I'm going to take these other ones and I'm actually going to cut them out a little bit and just kind of peek inside. The thing I was really interested in is I was wondering if my clown was possibly het pied or het albino, and I was wondering if my albino pied was possibly het clown. And it's definitely neither one of those was the case. So it's always interesting to kind of prove out the hets to see if there's anything in there. And that would be kind of cool with another snake, so you get something that's possible het something, and a lot of times you don't even know. Sometimes it gets kind of lost in, you know, you keep breeding the possible hets further and further, and pretty soon you don't even mention the possible hets because it's such a far remote possibility. And then if you breed it to something like a triple visual, then you know for sure if it has either one of those genes. So it could be really powerful as far as proving out some of your other snakes, which would be pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cut into these just a little bit so we can take a peek. I'm thinking we probably won't see too much. They'll probably look pretty normal as far as just, you know, a normal looking snake in there. What I want to do is I'm just going to snip these open, make sure they are okay in there. And this is always kind of a messy job, cutting open snake eggs. And some people really cut them more than others. And this one looks just like the other ones pretty much. Just a regular, normal looking ball python. I just want to give him a little help so he can get out of there. Like this one, he's kind of stuck in there. I don't really like it with their head kind of stuck there. I like to kind of help them out just a little bit here. And see if we can get them out a little bit more. I don't know about this. This one has really got his head stuck there. He's like, he was really stuck in there. But he's pretty much looks just the same. No visual pieds, clowns, or albinos on any of these. So what I'm going to do is from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two eggs that still have the snakes in the eggs. I'm going to put these back in the incubator, and then I'm going to actually name these and set them up in my hatchling rack. Alright, so this is essentially the setup that I have in my hatchling rack. I just have a little bit of the Pro Coco coconut husk over here and some fresh water, and then the hot spot over here. And this is the one we're going to give the first name to. They're pretty much all the same. Het albino, het pied, and het clown. It's interesting to see some of the patterns on these snakes. Look a little bit jumbled up. Can't really tell them apart that much, I'd say. They're all pretty much the same. I have a bunch of names right here. I'm slowly giving names to all my snakes, and I decided I want to just start naming my hatchlings right out of the eggs. I give them a name. This one is called Hope. I hope I get the triple visual at some point. Alright, so here is the next one. This is actually probably the one with the most jumbled up pattern out of all of them. It's kind of interesting that some of them have more of a jumbled pattern and some of them don't. It is weird how the triple hets kind of interact with each other to give this weird kind of a jumbled normal pattern. And usually normals have pretty much more of a regular pattern with alien heads up on the sides and stuff. This one, I guess, kind of has the alien heads a little bit here, but not many of them. I think it's a little more jumbled up than just a regular straight normal. So let's pull another name from the hat, and we'll see what this one is. This one is named Slinky. Alright, so I just used my label maker. This is what the labels look like for Hope and Slinky. I put their names on there, and het pied, het albino, het clown, triple hets. Alright, so here is the next one. Het albino, het pied, het clown. There's basically almost all exactly the same. They're all really interesting, normal looking snakes. And I'm thinking if I actually sold these just like this, they would probably sell for quite a bit. I would imagine selling a triple head. As a matter of fact, I saw, I think it was a pied clown double head, and they wanted quite a I think it was like $500 or $700 for it. So I'm thinking, you know, a snake like this, if I was to sell something like this, I could probably get more than $500 or $600. I'm thinking maybe $800 a pop, but I'm thinking at this point I'm not going to sell any of these. I'm going to hold them all back. So let's get a name for this one. This one is Mango. Alright, so here's the last one that's out of the egg, and I have to say that these hatchlings are really decent sized. You know, I was actually expecting smaller eggs and smaller hatchlings from just a 2-year-old ball python laying eggs for the very first time, and I guess they lay pretty much normal size eggs. It's just a smaller clutch. So this is actually a 6-egg clutch, and some of my bigger females, they'll lay up to, you know, maybe 13 eggs. They'll have quite a few. It's pretty amazing. So let's pick a name for this last one here, and let's see if we can get a good name. Here's a good one. This is Savage. Alright, so the snakes that I put in the hatchling rack, essentially what I do is I just wait about a week or two before they shed out, and then after they shed, about a week after that, I offer them their first meal. But these last 2 ball pythons that haven't come out of the egg, I don't really want them to come out right now because a lot of times they haven't completely absorbed the yolk, and you really have to let them come out on their own. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even cut eggs, they just let all the snakes come out. I always like to cut them and give them a little extra help, just in case they don't actually get stuck in there and they can't get out. Most of the times they can get out no problem at all. And essentially the way I have my egg boxes set up is I use vermiculite and water 50-50 on the bottom, and then I use this egg crate that I got these from China on eBay really cheap, and then I just cut the corners so they fit in here, and this lasts the whole 60 days of incubation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more press and seal to the top. And I don't know if you've ever used this press and seal before, but it kind of has a sticky side on just one side, and you just press it and it seals. It's pretty nice, and it actually is breathable, so the snakes can breathe through this no problem. You notice I had this on here sealed tight, and for 60 days those eggs came out, and the hatchlings had no problems breathing through this stuff, which is pretty amazing. You wouldn't think they could actually get air through this, but it does. I don't have any holes on the sides at all, so it's breathable, but it holds in all the moisture. And essentially what I do is I go through my egg boxes maybe every 3 weeks and wipe down the inside to kind of reduce the condensation. I take the condensation off the top, and I replace the press and seal about every 3 weeks so it doesn't rain down on the eggs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop this back in the incubator. So speaking of replacing the press and seal, it's been about 3 weeks since I replaced it on these eggs in my incubator. This one is actually normal crossed with my coral glow, and you can actually see how much condensation builds up and it starts raining down on the eggs. This is kind of an extreme case. I usually replace them a lot more often than this, so you don't really get the buildup. And what I like to do is kind of tilt the whole thing so it runs down this side. It doesn't really rain on the eggs. In this case, it kind of rained on the eggs a little bit. But you can see that these eggs are really doing good. And sometimes you get like a little bit of mold on the eggs, which is no problem at all usually. And then what I do is pretty much just take it from the sides, just kind of reduce the amount of condensation all over, just kind of blot the eggs a little bit, because it kind of rained down on them when I opened it. And these eggs are looking really good. You can see they're dimpled a little bit. These are going to hatch in about 2 weeks, and from this pairing you would expect half of them are coral glows and half of them are just straight normal. So there you have it. It is new press and seal on the top. And what I like to do is I like to kind of get it tight so it doesn't really loop down and kind of drip in the middle, because you really don't want all that condensation dripping in the middle on your eggs. And it'd almost be nice if you had some kind of a rain shield set up on the inside. That'd be ideal. I haven't quite figured that one out yet. But I'm gonna pop this back and maybe I'll look at the next box. So it looks like this is actually the other half of the normal crossed with my Coral Glow. So essentially what I did is I split it up between two boxes because I didn't really want to put all my eggs in one basket. I like to kind of separate them between two boxes. I don't like to put more than about 6 eggs per box. That's pretty much my limit. And what I like to do is I like to really separate the eggs, so if you get a bad one, you can actually separate it and kind of, I've actually had some that would mold, you get a bunch of mold and fungus on it, and I have yet to actually save one of those eggs. It seems like once it really gets furry and nasty, it's pretty much gone. And I'm thinking I'm almost out of press and seal. I'll have to make an order and actually buy some more press and seal. I go through this quite a bit during the breeding season, so I just have, I think, a couple more boxes left. Let's take a look at those and we'll see how those eggs are doing. All right, so here's my next box, and this one was my Lemon Blast crossed with my Pastel Desert Ghost. And I actually bred the Pastel Desert Ghost to 2 different Lemon Blasts because I didn't know I was gonna hit all the genes in one snake. And I actually hit that combo on my last clutch, and I got the Super Blast 100% Het Desert Ghost, which is the Super Pastel Pinstripe with the 100% Het Desert Ghost. So in these, I'm probably going to sell these because I already hit what I wanted. As a matter of fact, if I hit it again, I'll probably save both of them because one might be a male, one might be a female. And if I get 2 of the same gender, I'll probably unload one of them. I was trying to work the Pinstripe and the Super Pastel into more of my Desert Ghost stuff. These look really good. These are actually going to hatch the 31st of August. So these are about halfway through the incubation cycle. And look at how nice and plump they look. They look really, really good. I'm surprised that, you know, after a whole month, it looks like they could have been laid yesterday, which is pretty amazing. So these, no mold, no indentations. They're really nice and firm. These are looking fantastic. Let's see if I have enough press and seal here. Oh boy. We're getting down to, I'm not sure if I can do another box with the press and seal I have. I might have to start reusing some until I can go buy some more press and seal. Usually I like to replace it instead of reuse it, but I suppose if you're on a budget, you could probably take it off and then just dry it and then put it back on. That should be probably no problem at all. So I'm gonna pop this one in the incubator and let's look at my last box of eggs. All right, so this clutch I had to put it in a bigger box because what happened is I actually didn't get to the eggs in time to where I could separate the eggs and put it in one of my smaller boxes. So I had to leave them all stuck together, and I put them in this really big box. And I don't think I have enough press and seal to actually replace all this. So I'm gonna be kind of careful and see. I might have to actually dry this out and replace it as we go. Well, let me take a look at these. See how it's kind of dripping down and raining on the eggs? You definitely don't want too much of that because your eggs can get really, really kind of moldy. And these are actually going to hatch in about 2 weeks. So these are looking really good. This was, let's see, what was this? This was my my pinstripe crossed with my albino pied. So I'm going to get some pinstripes that are 100% het albino, 100% het pied. I thought it'd be interesting to actually produce some double het stuff for some people at the show. I just kind of thought, you know, maybe they'd be a good seller. Maybe instead of people trying to jump right into the albino pieds, which are really expensive, you could do the double hets for a lot cheaper. Maybe throw the pinstripe in and get some really cool snakes with some good potential to breed. So I'm going to see if I can actually, how much of this I have left here. Oh yeah, not enough. I am out of press and seal, and this is my last box. I'm definitely gonna have to order some more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to reuse this press and seal. This is the first time I've actually reused it, and I'm getting towards the end of the season. I'm thinking maybe one more thing of press and seal should do for the rest of the year, because these are the last eggs. You know, all my snakes have laid and most of them have hatched. These are just kind of the last few boxes that I have left. And I'm just gonna kind of see if I can dry it up a little bit and reuse it. Just enough for a couple weeks. Shouldn't be a problem at all. And it seems like it seals for a second time pretty good. Maybe I can actually start reusing it all the time. I usually just replace it. You know, it just seems just as easy to replace it, I think. All right, so that is a really exciting project. I'm really looking forward to growing up those triple heads, breeding them back together. That's when the excitement is really gonna kick in, and we'll get these whole rainbow clutches of all this different stuff. The only problem now is if I hold those 6 snakes back, I'm gonna have to figure out where I'm gonna put them. I'm pretty much filling up all my tubs with a lot of my holdbacks, and I'm thinking I could probably bring my quarantine rack down. I have 2 levels in an ARS 7010. I could probably put another 8 levels on there and squeeze it in here somehow, and that would give me another 10 snakes that I could actually hold back for future breeders. Let me tell you, I'm starting to expand pretty quick. The more I get into it and the more I breed, the more I just want to hold stuff back, and of course that builds my collection, and it's just starting to grow pretty much exponentially. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.